I love podcasting.
Where should I begin if I want to do something like that? If I want to make a living out of that, how do I go about it? Tell us a little bit more about you. Who is ePodcaster?
Jennifer Navarrete, the epodcaster. In 2005, I heard about this thing called podcasting. I was like, what is that?
Mhm.
And the more I learned about it, the more I realized that this was something that was going to revolutionize all of us.
Mhm. Hey everyone, welcome back to Live Talk. Today we have a very special guest, as promised. Well, I need to think mirror-wise. I think on the camera. No, you will be here. You will be here. E-podcaster is with us. Jennifer Navarrete is with us. Jennifer, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Really excited to be here. Can't wait to dive into today's topics.
Oh my goodness, I am very excited. I've been listening to on and off, to your podcast over the last 2 months, and ever since Napod Pomo in back in November, and today I listened to the whole part one series on the social media and the blockchain, all 30 episodes of you.
You
And
blazed through 30 episodes.
I went through all of them. Awesome material. So yes, I've been following you, and today your trailer for the second part, and I will give you a chance to tell us more about that. But I knew I was going to meet you today, and I heard your trailer, and so I decided to listen to the whole part one. Uh, so thank you very much. I'm very excited. But for all of those who in the audience who might not know you, please tell us a little bit more about you. Who is ePodcaster?
So, well, first of all, thanks a lot. I'm so glad that you had a chance to listen to season one. And I'm actually impressed that you blazed through all 30 episodes. They're short little episodes, so I can
Yes.
see how it could be done, but kudos to you. Um, Jennifer Navarrete, the e-podcaster. In 2005, I heard about this thing called podcasting. I was like, what is that?
Mhm.
And the more I learned about it, the more I realized that this was something that was going to revolutionize all of us.
Mhm.
And now, granted, back then it was new. And so when I thought, okay, I can record something, put it up on the web, and no one can stop me. And I was like,
Mhm.
sign me up, let's do the thing. But if we go back to 2005, if you wanted to be read, you needed to be in the newspaper or a magazine. And
Right.
if you wanted to be heard, you needed to be on the radio. And if you wanted to be seen, you needed to be on television or in movies.
I
So
know.
when this new media came along, blogging, podcasting, vlogging, which video
Right.
was what video blogging was back then, it was called new media for a reason because it was so different than traditional media. So
Right.
at that time, we think about the democratization of media for everyone. Any of us could have our say. We could write a blog post. That could be our version of a newspaper. We could record a podcast. That's our version of a radio show. We
Mhm.
could record videos or vlogs. That was our version of doing, television. There was no limits to it, what we could do. And it was a very, very revolutionary time.
Mhm.
And that really got me into it. But I didn't want to be doing this cool podcasting thing alone. I
Mhm.
started a group in San Antonio. I live in San Antonio.
Okay.
And so I started the San Antonio podcast meetup group because I wanted to get together with other people. I could find a lot of cool people online, but I wasn't finding people locally. So the
Okay.
best way to do it is to start a group.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And from there, everything
How
kind of
many
took
how
off
many
from
people
there.
were in that group?
Ooh, at originally the very first meetup was 3 people, me and 2
Okay.
other people.
Wow.
But then as time went on, it grew, and that group actually we got together and created the very first podcasting event in Texas called PodCamp San Antonio. That was in 2007.
Okay.
And we started hosting events and different kinds of things and growing our local community, but also the broader community. Because the nice thing about social media was that it was very kumbaya back then,
Right.
right? All of these things were like, this is amazing. We can do these cool things. And so the community was small. Most people, if I went to business mixers and I talked about podcasting and blogging and social media, thought I was nuts, thought I was speaking some crazy language. I was speaking Klingon. And they were like, this has no business application, Jennifer. You're at a business mixer. What are you talking about? And so
Right.
I was glad for that online community and the in-person community that got me because the traditional world didn't get me.
Right, right. You know, I many years ago, I love radio,
Mm,
and I grew up listening to talk shows on radio. You know,
yeah.
whether sports or politics or whatever, right? And
I
I don't
think we
know.
all wanted to be a DJ at some point in our
Yes,
life.
that's right. I mean, there's something so romantic. I don't. For a lack of a better word, it's so romantic about radio and listening to the voices, to
Hmm.
the speakers, and just imagine and being part of that conversation. So I was very interested in, but it was like for me,
Hmm.
it seems like a jungle. Where should I begin if I want to do something like that? And that's what I when I began hearing about podcasting. But even then, as you just said, for me it was like, where to begin. I mean, what should I do if I want to make a living out of that? How do I go about it and things like that? So you've been doing this for 16 years now. Wow.
17 going into 18,
Oh,
actually.
17 already. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Pretty,
yeah. In
pretty good.
2005, let's do the math. I think that's right. 17 going into 18.
Okay. And I mean, just listening to your voice and your podcast, I mean, it just sounds as excited as ever, I think. It's, yeah,
I love podcasting. I just love it. I mean, if I had, there's all kinds of ways we create content, right? We can write
right.
it, we can, record it, we can do video, we can do all kinds of things. But if you forced me and said, Jennifer, you can only create one type of content, it would be podcasting, hands down.
Wow.
Hands down. There's something intimate about voice. And you think about it,
Yes.
we jam those earbuds in and we listen to our favorite podcasts and they're whispering in our ear. As you said, there's a kind of a romantic idea about that. And it's a very intimate experience. And I
Yes.
can tell you that when I first started attending podcast conferences back like in 2006, 2007, I would be in the hotel checking in and I would hear voices behind me. And I was like, oh, I know that voice. I never met the person, had no idea what they looked like, but I knew
Right.
that
But
voice.
you know the voice.
And I would turn around and go run up to that person and go, oh my God, you're so and so. Like they didn't know who they were. But for me, it was like super exciting. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I like listened to your show and I've been listening for this long,
Right.
rabid fangirl. And this happened, Father Roderick. I don't know if any of y'all know, but Father Roderick is up in the Netherlands, and he
Uh-huh.
does a show. He's super geeky, but he's a Roman Catholic priest. And he walked in the door. I saw him walk in the door, and I
No way.
immediately knew who he was
The
at the
voice.
podcast conference. And I ran up to him because he did have his picture on all of his stuff. So I
Oh,
ran
okay.
up to him like, "Oh my God, Father Roderick!" And I gave him a hug. And of course, this is crazy gal from Texas hugging this priest who just walked into this thing, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
Well,
And I
you're from
realized
Texas. You're allowed. You're from
right.
Texas.
But I realized that this intimate connection, this
Right.
friendship, this like I know you kind of vibe that I was getting as a listener
Mm,
was exactly and it's kind of nice to be both a listener and a podcaster because you can
right.
appreciate both sides of that coin. So the reason why podcasting has such loyal fans and why I'm
Right.
as excited about it today as I
Mhm.
was back in 2005 is that real connection. It's something special.
Right. It is very special, and that's the reason I wanted to talk to you, and I appreciate that we are doing this live talk. Uh, uh, but before we move forward, um, just for everyone that is listening right now, and that maybe the spark of interest is there. Oh, I want to do podcasting. I would love to
Mhm.
do something. Um, all of Jennifer's information, contact information, is in the description box. How can they find you? I mean, you are everywhere. I mean, tell us
Uh, I mean, the best
where
way.
can the people find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ePodcaster everywhere. My name,
Okay.
Jennifer Navarrete. Most folks get the R's wrong and the T's wrong because there's a Spain way of spelling Navarrete and there's a French way of spelling Navarrete.
Uh-huh.
And so, as opposed to going by my name, it's just easier to be ePodcaster, which is who I've been since 2005.
Right.
Because if you Google ePodcaster, you're going to find me. I'm ePodcaster on Web 2, I'm ePodcaster on Web 3. And so I just keep it really simple. But yeah, by the way, the right way to spell it is two R's and one T.
2 hours, 1 day. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I pronounce it the Spanish way, Navarrete. So,
Yeah,
but
that's the Spain. The Spain.
the
There's
Spa-
a village in Spain called Navarrete, and that's where it originates
ah,
from.
there you go. You have your own town in Spain. Wow, I didn't know that. Beautiful. If you are interested in getting into podcasting and need a little bit of help, you can get in touch with Jennifer with ePodcaster because she will tell us a little bit more about that. But she has a great program. You do coaching as well. You coach people, right?
I do. I actually do podcast production,
Okay.
and I work both with individuals and with ad agencies because agencies have clients that want podcasts, but they don't want an in-house team,
Oh, I
so
see.
they'll subcontract out to folks like myself, and
Okay.
we come in and we get everybody and everything going and making it
Okay.
all happen. So
Okay.
I love I love podcasting.
You love podcasting. I see that. Very good. So if get in touch with her if you have interested in podcasting. Well, I have a few more questions for you because I want to take advantage of this time as much as I can. I mean, as I said, I listened to the part one, all 30 episodes, and I mean, we can talk hours about this podcasting. But the first question for you would be, in case of someone is listening to you right now, and they might have that feeling, I would love to do that. My question is podcasting for everyone?
I'd say podcasting is for everyone who has a mission and a message to share with the world. We
Okay.
all do. There's something inside of us that won't leave us alone. And at
Mm-hmm.
various chapters in our life, it can be different things, but
Mm-hmm.
there's always this one thing that won't leave us alone. And we were like, I don't have time for that. I'm busy. But then
Okay.
this idea bubbles up, or this drive that we have bubbles up. And then we're like, no, I don't have time for that.
Okay.
And the reality is, right now, if you've got this, you have time for it because you can speak your message.
Right.
Back in 2005, when I started podcasting, there were no smartphones.
That's
There
right.
was no social media the way that it is today.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do these things. And the phone that you have in your possession is the production studio in your pocket. So the cool thing about podcasting, both as a podcaster and as a podcast listener, is that the mobile device is your friend. If you're
Right.
in the car and you've got a long commute, start a show. Mobile
Yeah.
plus apps means that you could record your show, wear some earbuds, wired earbuds, so that way you're not getting as much of
But
the car sound. If you
keep
have an
up the
iPhone,
keep your eyes on the road though. But
yes. But also use
right.
isolation mode if you've got it, because the
Yeah.
phones come with standard mic, but if there's an actual setting that comes with your phone that can isolate it, so it'll kind of buffer out any of the sound.
Hmm.
But even if you're walking, I do a show called the Walk Talk Challenge where I interview women
Oh.
entrepreneurs and women of Web3, and we
Hmm.
do it on Twitter Spaces. That's
Gotcha.
using my phone because it records, and then I'm able to then download that and turn it into a podcast, which I have. So
Oh wow.
walktalkchallenge.com is something that I did because I wanted to get more movement into my life, because after pandemic, it's a lot of sitting. So I thought, I'm
Right.
going to walk my neighborhood in San Antonio, and I'm going to ask other women entrepreneurs and women of Web3 if maybe they might want to join me for a walk too, because the women have to be walking, whether they're walking their neighborhood, their
No
backyard,
way. Really?
or their house.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very innovative. That's
Well,
right.
but so if you think you don't have time, you have
Right.
time. Let's be
Right.
creative. And your phone is your friend. And if you're wanting to listen to podcasts, then
Right.
podcasting is the best way to listen, to learn and listen, because it's the only platform out of blogs and podcasts and video. It's the only one you can do while you're doing something else.
Right.
Driving, listen to a podcast. Walking the dog, listen
Right.
to a podcast. Doing household chores, listen to a podcast. Working out, listen to a podcast.
Right.
So there's no reason to not listen to a podcast, but by the same token, as a potential podcaster, realize that's an opportunity that doesn't exist in other platforms. Now, does it mean you should only podcast? No. You
Hmm.
should also think about doing other things. I mean, you've got a video show here. It's a great thing to do.
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
everybody likes to read. Not everybody likes to listen. Some people like to watch. There are
Right.
people who like to only read blog posts, and if they see a video, they just look for the show notes. And they see a
Right.
podcast, they look for the show notes. Some people look at a wall of text on a blog post and go, not
Hmm.
interested. And they're going to go look for the video or go look for the podcast. So
Right.
because everybody learns differently and everybody consumes content differently, it's a
Right.
great idea for us to repurpose our content in different ways. And if you podcast or do video, the show notes is your blog post. So you're
That's
kind of
right.
doing that anyway. If you're doing a video, you can strip out the audio, turn it into a podcast. You can strip out the audio, have it transcribed, turn it into a blog post. So
Right.
think about creating content one way and then repurposing it in all the ways in order to reach the most people.
Right. It's amazing. And that's one of my next questions. I mean, I know creating material content and earning. I mean, that's always the debate, and one of
Mhm.
your episodes in your part one series, you mentioned that. But could you explain for our audience what is the difference between creating content and earning
Mhm.
on the web 3.0 versus the web 2.0?
So once I started really understanding what was happening in March of 2021, my friend Shane Mata said, "Hey, I've been doing this thing for a couple of years. You should take a look at it." And when I looked at it, I realized it was something that I had looked at back in August of 2017 and said, and walked away from.
Okay.
But of course, by March of 2021, it was so much more robust and there was so much more there. And it was like, ooh, this is exciting.
Hmm.
And so I decided to dive in. And then in the summer, I thought, I need to really get a better sense of this. I decided to launch a show with him. And I also decided to start doing A/B split testing. And I
Hmm.
continue to do A/B split testing. I encourage all of us to do that as we go. So that original A/B split test was around baking bread. I was baking a lot of bread at the time. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to take a little collage photo of the dough and of it rising and then of me, with it sliced. And I posted it on Twitter and I posted it on Hive.
Hmm.
And I at the time on Hive, I had like, I don't know, 9 followers. I mean, I was new. And this was an alt account. And then on Twitter at the time, I had like 5,000 followers. And on Twitter, where I had 5,000 followers, I got 3 hearts or 3 likes.
Right.
On the blockchain where I had 9 followers and no one actually knew who I was because I was using an alt account, I
Right.
received 11 upvotes that when it all paid out netted me 37 cents. And I
Hmm.
say that, and most people are like, that was a lot of story for 37 cents, Jennifer. And it's like, wait, okay, but I'm giving you the foundation, the frame of reference.
Right.
Think about the 46,000 tweets that I had on Twitter at the time. And
Hmm.
let's just pretend, let's just say that every single tweet was worth 37 cents in the same way that this post was. It's not.
Hmm.
Some posts on the blockchain are 0, some are 2 cents, some are several dollars. It
Hmm.
varies.
It
But let's
varies.
just say, just for this purpose, that it was 37 cents. If I
Mhm.
multiply those tweets by 37 cents, it's like over $17,000 over the life of me tweeting on Twitter. So all of a sudden, 37 cents is like, oh, kind of important. So I was sharing that story with someone when I was doing a talk on Wisdom, which is another social audio app. And the person there said, and it was Graciela Moore, she said, that kind of sounds like putting change in the piggy bank at the end of the day. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what it is. If we think about micro monetization, because that's what I call it micro monetization. If we think about the change at the bottom of our pocket at the end of the day, and we just put it in the piggy bank, it's 12 cents, 5 cents, 50 cents, maybe it's $1. And it's nothing much by itself, but when the piggy bank gets full and we take it to the bank and we cash it in, $200 or $300, all of a sudden it's like, hey, that's something. So if I think about us as creators, right? If you're a creator, you're gonna create. Period.
Mhm.
Amen. I'm going to be creating content until the day that I graduate to the next level of existence, whatever that is. And so knowing that about myself, that I'm going to be creating, why wouldn't I also add the blockchain as a destination for my content to micro
Yeah,
monetize,
it's no
to put that
brainer, right?
change at the bottom of my pocket at the end of the day and let it collect over time? I'm still tweeting, I'm still Facebooking, I'm still posting on LinkedIn, I'm still doing YouTube, I'm still doing, all those things, but I'm also doing those exact same things on the blockchain. So if you're a creator, any kind of creation, tweets, social media posts, blog posts, podcast, video, live streaming, photos, whatever it is that you like to do right now on Web 2, take that and put it on the blockchain and just be amazed at the results over
Mhm.
time.
Right.
Over time.
That's right. I mean,